Okay. All right. So we are going to go ahead and get started. I do want to briefly talk about, of course, the Google Certified Coaching Program. I am going to kind of skim over it quickly, again, for the sake of time. I know the first session we went over, and you do have that recording to that first session if you need to go back and review any of the requirements. And of course, we can come back and answer those for you. But so first and foremost, we are here together as a part of the Google Certified Coaching Program, which really focuses on instructional coaches working one-on-one with educators to tackle classroom challenges with technology-based strategies. And so through the pilot program that Google ran for a couple of years with coaching, collecting data and research and developing these best practices, this is where the Google for Education Certified Coach came from. And so this webinar series is designed to, like Amanda just touched on, really kind of help supplement that curriculum, help build where, global changes have taken place since the curriculum has been developed. So we're really hoping to help further develop those skills and give you another perspective on the skills that you will learn about in that Google coaching curriculum, as well as build beyond that. Again, this remote coaching environment, none of us ever really thought how quite in depth we were going to need to see that today. And so the Google Certified Coaching Program, it does come with a curriculum that is designed for you to dive into over the course of a school year. And so I've gotten some questions. You do not need to have completed that curriculum in order to partake in this webinar series. Ideally, you may have started. Everyone might be in varying places. That's okay. Some of you may not have actually dove into it just yet. That's okay. Hopefully, this is going to prepare you to actually dive into the curriculum. But it really focuses on this 5-step coaching model, which we are going to start to hit on today in terms of how do we make that 5-step coaching model. Tracy and I are going to refer to it as formal coaching cycles a lot today. So when we say that, we mean this 5-step model. But we're going to talk about what does that even look like in a remote environment. And again, just very quickly to talk about being certified, you need to complete all modules in the curriculum. Again, it's not designed to be taken in one setting, but over the course of a year, it's about 15 to 20 hours. You will prepare a portfolio and a short video that contains 3 artifacts over the course of your coaching cycles. Ideally, you would want to complete 2 or more coaching cycles just to help you collect those different artifacts. And then you will need a letter of reference from an administrator reflecting on your impact as a coach. And then, of course, you'll submit an application, all of which you can find in Google's certified curriculum online. And we will be sure to share that link with you today as well. As part of the program, a lot of research that they have done shows that partnering with a mentor goes a really long way for a coach. A lot of you who have served as a coach know that you can really feel like you're on a remote island sometimes by yourself. So having a paid mentorship partner, again, this is optional, but these are the 6 recommended partners by Google for Education if you would like to look at that as an option for additional mentorship. And of course, we are Forward Edge, one of those 6 mentorship partners. And so we are very honored that we've been selected to put on this coaching webinar series for everyone. Today is day 2 of the 5-week series. And so we're excited to dive in. So at any one of the 5 webinars, you'll see any one of these 4 folks. They are the coaches on our team who serve as mentors in our recommended partner mentorship program for coaches. And so without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the remote coach. Please, by all means, if you like what you're seeing or you want to engage in conversation outside of the webinar, please use hashtags GoogleEC, that's the Google Coach hashtag, and then also hashtag FEK12. That's what we use at Forward Edge. So if you use those 2 hashtags and anything you're sharing on social media, we'll all be able to engage in the conversation together. And before I forget to mention, we shared a Google group for your cohort, which is going to make it a lot easier for us to send email reminders, share the slide decks and recordings after the fact, which we will share approximately 1 day after the live session. And it's going to make it a lot easier because we're limited on the number of people that we can share an email at once. So having that Google group is going to make it really easy. We have it set up so that we're the only ones who can send reminders right now, just so that you're not getting, spammed with a whole lot of email. So please be sure. Tracy just shared the link in the Google group. If you would be sure to either request to join or to accept our invitation, that would be great. And if it's not letting you, you may need to join with a personal Gmail. It could be a setting that your school domain has locked down for you to join Google Groups outside of your domain. But a personal Gmail should fix that. That way we can make sure you get the recordings and the slides and all of our email reminders so you don't miss one of our live sessions. So without further ado, myself, Katie Ritter, and Tracy Keogh are going to be presenting today's topic for you. I am the director of our Curriculum and Technology Integration Department at Forward Edge. We're located in Cincinnati, Ohio, and Tracy and I serve on a team with 15 former teachers turned technology integration coaches. So we serve about 20 different school districts in our region as their technology integration coach. And Tracy is perfectly fitted to be helping us with today's topic because she actually serves one of our districts and their virtual academy as their coach. So everything she's doing is 100% virtual, as well as a hybrid. And when we say hybrid, we mean maybe some students are in the classroom face-to-face and some students are at home, in whatever combination that looks like, which has, I'm sure many of you know, has just created complete chaos for your teachers and a lot of unrest. So hopefully we're going to talk about some creative ways that you can tackle these unique challenges in a remote environment. So today we're going to kind of go over the role of a coach here in 2020. We're going to come up with some clever ways, building on last week, how we can build relationships in a virtual environment. When you can't pop in on a teacher face-to-face, it's a little harder to build those relationships. So we're gonna talk about some creative strategies there. We're gonna look at how do you market yourself as a coach and as a resource for teachers. How do you push in and be visible to teachers? So when we say push in, we mean how do you, pop in their classrooms to check on them during their plan bells, and how do you, really kind of give them a friendly nudge to participate in your coaching cycles? And by being visible, we mean if you're not there walking up and down hallways, or all of your teachers aren't there walking up and down hallways, how do they see you as a reminder that you are that resource? And then, of course, the unique challenge of conducting those formal coaching cycles, that 5-step model. How do we do that in a remote environment? And so to talk about a coach's role today in 2020, I've got here, this image is from ISTE's Standards for Coaches, which I don't think I mentioned earlier, but Google Certified Coach Curriculum is aligned. They have the ISTE Seal of Alignment for the coaching standards. So if you're not familiar with those, I highly recommend as a coach that you check out those coaching standards. I think it really helps give you guidance on what your role is within an education system, as well as helps you maybe define what your role is for maybe some administrators who aren't quite clear on that. But as you can see here, these are the different overall standards that the modern coach has to address all of these different things. And pre-COVID, there was already so much on our plate that we had to address as a coach. We like to say that, we wear a lot of hats and we do so many different roles within a school system. And that's a lot to do. But now, post-COVID, supporting teachers from home, remotely, supporting hybrid classroom environments, has just brought on a whole nother host of challenges and stakeholder groups that we are trying to cater toward and prepare for the current education landscape. So there's a lot on our plate. And Digital Promise published this article. I've got the bit.ly on the screen there if you want to check out the article later, not right now. Stick with us for a little bit. But I pulled out a couple of quotes because I think it's just super important to highlight the value of a tech coach right now in this COVID-19 era. And they conducted a survey, and results showed that administrators and teachers valued the role of an ed tech coach more during the pandemic than they did prior to school closures. I think for those of us who have been serving as a coach for a little while can vouch for that. And also more than 90% of respondent coaches reported that their teachers reached out to them more frequently during school closures than they had previously. I know our team, even though they were working from home, were so busy March through, well, I guess they really haven't stopped, September, and almost don't even have time to take restroom breaks or get lunch in their own homes because they've been so busy with so many teachers reaching out for support. So again, those of you who have already been serving in some sort of a coaching capacity, I'm sure can nod your head. I'm seeing some heads nodding and kind of vouch for that as well. And so before we get started, I'd like to take just a second, and what you're going to need to do, don't close out of the Hangout tab, but you're going to want to open up a second tab, and you are going to go to menti.com, menti.com, and then enter the code 5249030. And what I'm looking for is I want to hear from you, so we might be able to touch on certain topics more than others, and if there's any time at the end, maybe we can circle around to it if we didn't already plan on it. And I want you to try to narrow it down in 3 words, which I know is really hard, but try to, what is it that keeps you up at night about coaching in a virtual environment? And again, try to describe that in 3 words. But what is it that keeps you up at night? And once you've entered your words, you can actually flip back to the Hangout because I've got the screen sharing so you can see our little word cloud populating. So for anyone who has never used this tool before, the tool itself is called Mentimeter. It's a really, really awesome tool. And so it's updating our word cloud in live time based on the 3 words that you all are implementing. So yes, time. Time does not seem to be moving at all. It is stationed right there in the middle. There is definitely not enough time in the day. I think we all feel that. Building relationships and making connections, I'm seeing on here. Stress, yes, we are all feeling a little bit stressed right now. Access, yes, that's a huge issue, which actually we're not going to even dive in today from the coaching perspective necessarily. But yes, I feel you that is a huge issue. Communication, being effective, finding the balance, feeling isolated. Yeah, lots and lots of awesome words here. So actually, it looks like some of those big words are some of the things that we're going to hammer on today. So that's good. So if you haven't submitted, go ahead and submit, and then you can come back to us. We just wanted to kind of capture where everyone was at right now and what you were thinking. Yes, equity is a huge issue right now from our student perspective. So first thing that we're going to talk about, which is nice, it's nice in the center, a very big word here is building relationships. And so we talked last week with a lot of great strategies as a coach on how you can build relationships with your teachers, reluctant teachers, and your administrators. But how do we do some of those things in a virtual environment where you may not see all of your teachers every day, if at all right now? Some of you might still be completely remote right now. So the first idea that we have is to use screencast introductions of yourself. So there's lots of great tools out there. Screencastify is a really popular one. Some folks on our team use Loom, L-O-O-M. And those are quick little ways that you can capture a screencast on your computer, and they also allow you to show your face. And we're going to circle back around to that tip. But if you notice, this, I guess you can't tell, but this is actually an image of a video where we went through, we did a little coffee as a coach, and myself And Tyler, our assistant director, did a little introduction to all of the building administrators across the districts that we serve and just kind of explained who we are and who all of our coaches were and what they can expect out of us these first few months of school. And so we used a Google slideshow, and then we captured a screencast of us talking through that slideshow, except we kept our faces up here in the top right. And I know that nobody likes to see their face on camera, and we just want to avoid it, and we don't want to listen to the playback of our voices. But I promise it goes a long way. It really helps create that personal connection. So this is a great way, especially for those of you who might be a brand new coach to a new district or a new school. Or maybe you have transitioned to a coaching role, and so now you're serving in a brand new role. Great idea to introduce yourself to your staff, maybe having a separate one to your building administrators to really explain your role to them, so that you can introduce yourself. Virtual coaches office. So a lot of folks have, a lot of teachers created these virtual classrooms using their Bitmojis over the, I guess, spring where we're located, but March through May and June, we saw a lot of teachers creating these virtual classrooms using a tool like either Google Slides or Google Drawing and pairing it with links to resources and all sorts of things, and then putting your little Bitmoji so it kind of creates this personal touch. So here we have one from Tracy. All of these little images that you see here are links to tools that this district uses, as well as resources on how to use them, right? And then actually, Leslie Fagan is actually in this cohort, so she's here. Leslie, you can throw out a little shout in the chat, but thanks for letting me use your example here. And so Leslie also created this as just a short and sweet little, hey, need to get help? Hit me up on Google Meet, right? I'm available all the time. All you have to do is send me a quick message. So it doesn't even have to be something that's super complicated, but it's something that you could embed within, you know, wherever you collect your resources, whether you develop a Google site or you're using a class in your learning management system. You know, you could pin this to the top, so it's always at the top. People know how to get a hold of you. Just something kind of short and sweet. Again, adding a little personal touch. A getting to know you form. I'm not going to play this video for the sake of time, but I do love this video. I always love showing it when I am training teachers on using Google Forms. And it's so great. And the gist of it is this high school teacher uses a Google form at the very beginning of the year to get to know her high school students. And she's just asking personal questions about them. And how much the students responded to a teacher actually getting to know them. And really feeling like they were heard. And so I just think it's an awesome use of Google Form, and wow, what a good way that we as coaches could use that to get to know our teachers. Even if you've already been a coach in your district for years and you already have great relationships with your teachers, it wouldn't hurt to maybe send out, you know, something short and sweet, being cognizant of people's time right now. But something just, you know, even the best time to work with someone right now, right? Do they prefer the morning, afternoon, or evening? Do they prefer to, you know, jump in a video call, or do they prefer a phone call support? You know, or do they prefer to just go back and forth over email? So just little things that even if you already know your teachers, that you can still really kind of hammer home, again, to kind of cater to them and their needs right now. And then on the flip side, if you're new in your school or you're new to this role, you may not even know the names and faces of the teachers that you are now trying to serve, especially if you're starting the school year off completely remote. So really getting to know them, what they teach, and different things, you know, just their stresses or what they're nervous about in these hybrid environments. And then, of course, you know, we always, and this will not be the last time that you're going to hear this in today's session, but as coaches, we really want to make sure that they know that we are here to help be an extra set of hands. We are here to help them. We are not here to add additional work on their plate. By working with a coach, whether they're just, you know, bringing you in for the day to brainstorm or co-teach, or you're actually conducting a formal coaching cycle with them, we want them to know that however they utilize us, they should see us as a resource. Whenever I'm starting out with a new group of teachers who aren't familiar with the role of a coach, I always like to put up a slide that has a bunch of different, professional athletes and actors and singers that are very well known. And I just ask, what do they all have in common? And usually I get comments about how they're the best, they're professionals, they're the best at what they do, they're highly skilled. And so I acknowledge and I say yes to all of those things, but no one ever guesses that they all also had a coach, right? And so that really helps reframe the idea of what we're there to do as a coach for teachers, because then they really start to see it. Oh, you can be the best of the best, but you can still have a coach to help you further perfect your craft. And so that's what we're there to do as coaches, is we're there to help be an extra set of hands in everything we do. Any marketing material you send out or communication that you send out, you want to make sure that you're phrasing it in a way that doesn't make teachers think that, especially right now, this is going to be one more thing on their plate, but they're going to see it as something that's actually going to help them and maybe even take something off of their plate. And Tracy, I will turn it over to you.
Which is a perfect way to lead into marketing yourself, is marketing yourself to be that extra set of hands. And this is something that I constantly, with all of my teachers, am letting them know that I am there to support them, take things off their plate. How can we use technology to build lessons to support them and, again, release some of that tension and pressure that they're feeling right now. So some of the ways that we market ourselves as tech coaches and we can put our information out there are by creating some different menus and things that we can make available to our teachers and staff so that they have a quick glance at ways that we can support them without the constant meetings and different things that we might need to do. This also takes the pressure off of, well, you're the Schoology person or you're the Google Classroom person. It gives them that broader picture of what you're capable of doing and helping your teachers be successful with. So one of the things that our team has created are these coaching menus. So this is something that one of our teammates has put together and shows through her teachers just ways that she can help support them. So it's just a different menu, options that she has for getting started and what's it's good for. So it's giving them both options. So want to be a goal setting session? Okay, this is what it's good for. Making things happen, let's do some in-class support or co-teaching. When is it good? And just kind of breaking down those expectations. And then especially right now, adding in some virtual options such as, hey, we want to do some co-teaching, perfect, send me the link, let me jump in and help you, just be that second set of hands, or give you some feedback along the way, co-teach along with that lesson. So make sure that everybody's on the same page and really building that teacher up to feel successful with everything they're doing. So this gives them that one-stop shop to kind of bring everything together without you constantly pushing out material to them over and over again.
And Tracy, I just want to add one thing with the virtual options here too, that I know we've discussed a lot on our team, is that really explicitly outlining what that virtual option could be. It may seem obvious to you as a coach, oh, I can come in your class and co-teach with you, which also I could co-teach with you in a Google Meet virtual meeting setting, but it's not always as obvious to teachers. So explicitly outlining how maybe some of those face-to-face options translate for you as a coach and the way that you support them in a virtual setting, I think is really important.
Yep. And adding to your menu could be an entire virtual section where it's just breaking those down, explicitly showing teachers, because like you said, it's not always visible to them. And in the moment, they're not looking for, they're not reading between the lines. They're looking for that explicit answer and just want it right in front of them. The other thing that we are using, and credit goes out to Pam Hubler, this was posted on her website, that we have taken and I have transformed to use within my staff, my teaching and coaching on campuses, is this coaching choice board. So I pass this out to my staff when I'm working with them, just showing them kind of the lay of the land of lots of different things that I can help them with. This is not the end all be all list, but it is the top list of things that we've noticed that teachers are really showing interest in right now and things that they want help with. So how do I model? How do I do all of this? And again, bringing in those specific personalized learning pieces with virtual learning involved right now, such as let's do a virtual lesson walkthrough. So we have a lot of teachers that are still learning how to teach online in this setting. So if you as a coach can offer that set aside time where they know, okay, I'm coming to the table with my lesson, here it is, can you be my fake student, walk through this and go around with it so that they're able to kind of break down the process, understand how it's working, and just kind of feel out the situation before they present it to students so that your teachers feel successful while they're presenting and walking through those virtual lessons. I've done a ton of those with teachers virtually through Google Meets where it's, can you just remind me how to share my screen? How do I present correctly? How do I make sure everything's working the right way? And those are the things that are really at the forefront right now for them, and making sure that they feel comfortable with using those tools that are in front of them. So again, this choice board gives them the option to kind of quickly glance and see, okay, these are things that I know she can help me with, that I can jump on board and send a quick email and say, hey, can we do this? I would really like help with this. And it gives them all of those pieces. So again, credit for this one goes back to Pam Hovler, but she does have a great template that is available for you to use, and then change out what you need for your own pieces.
And Tracy, quick question, do these link to anything, or is this just so they see and then they contact you to work with them?
So on mine do not link to anything because I wanted them to not have a basic I wanted them to think outside the box. So that I didn't want them to have a link to something where it was like, this is what it should look like. So mine are just static pieces where then we would have a conversation through email or Google Meet to really open up those boards and think about what their needs are versus like, oh, I saw this and I want to make it, or I'm going to copy yours and start making it. I really want the teachers that I work with to come into their own and understand what they're capable of without having something right in front of them initially off the bat. So this gives us a talking point to then move forward. Which brings us to the next point where we can utilize newsletters, tech tips, and being consistent with both of those. So as a coach, we really want to make sure that we're sending out information to our teachers and really meeting them where they're at with information. So something that the coaches that we work with and that I work with do are tech tips with whether it's on a Google site, whether it's Google Slides that they're sending out, a SMORE newsletter, or just quick, here's a Google slide and a form that we've printed out and dropped in mailboxes. Just making sure that all of our teachers are really understanding and we're meeting them where they're at, whether we meet with them regularly or it's a pass in the hall, and just a, hey, hello, how's it going? Did you hear about what we're doing this month as a focus? So these are 3 ways to really kind of meet those teachers where they're at. Building a Tech Talk website so you can roll out different things and kind of update that regularly. Always being consistent. So if you're going to do a 2 p.m. tech tip release on every Thursday, make sure it comes out at 2 p.m. every Thursday. If you're not really good about reminding yourself that it has to go out at that specific time, don't set it at that specific time, because you as a coach will put a lot more demand on yourself for that. But if you feel comfortable with it, go right ahead, because then teachers know, okay, 2 p.m. on Thursday, I should be getting my new tech tip so I can practice and figure it out and maybe look at it and reach out to my coach to see what they need. So these are 3 examples of ways that our coaches have reached out. One of our coaches, who I believe is actually on here, creates these 2 o'clock tech tips where she sends out quick little 1 example things. It's nothing in detail. It's a very short, quick thing to help teachers understand one piece very quickly. And then we've got bits and bytes from another coach that sends out quick updates, highlighting bright spots on campus from teachers, using Twitter or Appy Hours, which are sessions that she might be running that are quick sessions. And then again, that Tech Talk, kind of a Google site to get teachers to notice where all the information is going to be located in one spot versus the constant emails. And again, shameless plugs, print it and put it in their mailbox. If your teachers have mailboxes and you are on campus with them, if you're able to create a quick ed tech support list and just kind of like your own little business card where they can pin it up in their room and remember every time they look at it, like, oh yeah, I have, Brooke I can reach out to if I need to. There's nothing wrong with that. You are marketing yourself. You are marketing what you do and how you're there to support them and be that extra set of hands. So if they see your name and they see something like, oh, ed tech support's always there in the background, eventually some of those teachers that may not use you right off the bat are going to come around and use you with that constant reminder of seeing it hanging in their room with them. So those are great ways to get your name out there and get working with other teachers as well. Something else that we have noticed, especially during remote learning, when you're marketing yourself and you're marketing what you're capable of doing to help support your teachers, is creating a one-stop shop for teachers, educators, staff, district level people, where you can meet them where you're at. So in this example, one of the coaches set up a remote learning educator locker room. So all of the district emails that were coming out of how to do this, where's that paper, that were getting lost in emails, this coach set up a remote learning locker room and put all of those materials right into this site. So teachers knew there was a one-stop shop for them to go to. They could click on the button, find what they were looking for, open up that resource very quickly versus having to scan through all of their emails and try and find out what was going on. They also had you can also use a course in your LMS or do that staff newsletter like we talked about, but really supporting teachers where they're at. Now, if you're going to use something like a Google site, that would be great. If you're able to use the LMS, the learning management system that your staff is using, that's even better because then you're modeling the use for your staff as well. So they're understanding their use as a student, and then they turn around and be the teacher modeling that use with their own students. So it really helps meet both demands at both ends of that and keeps everything in one space for them. And then our last favorite piece is when we say meet them where they're at, we really mean that. Every teacher takes a potty break. Everybody needs to use the restroom or go to the lunchroom. So you know what, if you can put up a quick PD on the potty newsletter where you throw it up on the wall on the back of the stall door, why not? They're reading something, whether they're on their phone or they're reading your flyer, you might as well make it accessible to them. So these are things that we've put up around our own office, and I know I have other coaches that I work with that put them up around the school as well for teachers, but you might as well catch them where they're at, whether they're sitting and reading in the lunchroom or in the bathroom. Get them that quick tech tool that they can then reach out and see what you can do to support them and be that extra set of hands with them. And then creating office hours, whether in person or virtually, is a great way to reach your teachers and market yourself. This is something that came in really handy with emergency learning March through May and is even more important now with those office hours. So booking those out, whether you're using Google Calendar appointment slots, another program like You Can Book Me or Calendarly, there's tons of programs out there that help you book times, but always making sure that your time and your office hours that are regular and consistent during the week so that your teachers always know, okay, every day at 9 or 3, I'm able to sign up or pop in for these open office hours. You can do open office hours where your teachers jump in and utilize you just as a need basis, or a sign up slot where they can sign up for their own 15, 20-minute chunks and multiple 20-minute chunks at a time if needed. I know I have a few teachers that do that where after this call, I actually have a teacher signed up for 45 minutes for open office hours because she sent me a list of 9 different things she wants to talk about. So all of those things are possible, but it really helps them feel comfortable working with you in a different way. And when they're working with you virtually or in person, you're modeling the tools that they will turn around and model with their own students. So that's very helpful for them as well. And another great tip here is to put that appointment piece in your email signature. So it's always available on any email you send out. They don't have to remember where that email that you sent that had the link. It's always attached to your signature. So it's easy for teachers to find, which is always our goal, is making things easier for them. And then for our aspiring coaches, so if you're not quite there yet, some different things that you can look at creating and just kind of showing that you're there to help your fellow teachers and colleagues. Maybe start an after-school teacher tech club. Even if you're a coach, this might be a great idea where you can build that teacher support on campus and really invite them to take ownership of their learning and be confident in what they're doing already. If you feel confident sharing templates to a common area, such as a Google Shared Drive, that would be a great place to start as well. Templates that you've created that you want to share out with other teachers. initiate something like a tech tips page where you can put in things that you've learned along the way and share those out with fellow teachers. And then please avoid rapid fire email and sharing any and every idea that you come across, because we know as coaches, and if you are a former educator, those can be the most frustrating emails where you're like, oh my gosh, another one. Scale it down. Think of the most important features that those teachers would need and the most important tools that they need so that they are getting a quick snapshot, because in today's teaching, we know that there's not enough time for them to read every email that we send out. So we want to make sure we're giving them the best information in the quickest way.
Awesome. Thanks, Tracy. So with as important as it is to market yourself as a coach, I want to kind of encourage people too, that even if you've been a coach in your district for a long time, or even if, maybe you're a new coach to the school, but your teachers are used to having tech coaches, it still is important to constantly market yourself. How often as a coach have you gone in to talk with a teacher and they ask you to fix their computer or fix their projector, and you re-clarify, oh, that's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to help you use technology for instruction. So we as coaches need to constantly re-clarify our role, not only for the teachers that we're serving, but also for our administrators so that they can help us get into the classrooms. So again, don't take it for granted. Even if you've been in your role as a coach in the building for a while, continue to market yourself as that resource. And so then along that, once you've kind of marketed, so now we've built relationships, teachers know who we are, and hopefully they like us, so they want to invite us into their classrooms. We've marketed ourselves so people understand what our role is. Sometimes we still have to make, we still have to try to push into classrooms, or we're still trying to, when you're trying to recruit people for your coaching cycles, right? We sometimes have to give a little nudge and really try to push in and maybe plant little seeds that can grow into these bigger things that make teachers think, oh, that was a great tip. Maybe I should do a coaching cycle with them because they helped me in such a short little way. Maybe they can help me in a lot more ways. So again, we call it push in. By that, we mean like find ways to get yourself in that teacher's classroom so that they're seeing you and they can see you as a resource. And then also to be visible. If nobody sees you, nobody knows you, you kind of become this Wizard of Oz behind the curtain that nobody really knows how or when to contact. So we don't want to be that person. We want to be there in front of them as a visible resource for them. So a few things, I already mentioned this, but I'm going to mention it again because I think it's so important in this current remote or hybrid environment where we're not seeing people as frequently. And some of your words here are about, connections and actually, the relationships and different things. So I'm feeling isolated, I saw on our word cloud from the beginning of our session. And so if we're feeling isolated and disconnected from people, just seeing emails come through doesn't really make you feel connected, right? So again, getting your face. If you're doing a screencast, have your camera on, right? So again, whether it's in the top or the bottom corner somewhere, they're actually seeing your face. They can see expressions. So often now we've almost forgotten what someone's smile and expressions looks like because we're all wearing masks when we are around other humans. So if you're alone in your office or at home making a screencast, actually letting someone see that expression in your smile again can really go a long way. When you're sending out communication, include a picture of yourself, right? Even if they know who you are, again, we're connecting a face with a name. We're adding a personal touch. If you're somebody that doesn't like your photo or you don't want to put your photo on, you can do something like a Bitmoji or a character avatar that still takes on your appearance. And then it's also just kind of fun sometimes to have the character on there of your Bitmoji as well too. But as much as we can add these little personal touches, the better, and it makes people feel more connected to us even when we're still afar. And then, of course, just the same as we would in a face-to-face environment, we want to find those influencers or those tech champions, or the Google curriculum calls them innovation advocates, right? So find those teachers who are really gung-ho to try new things. They want to push innovation in the classroom forward as much as you do, right? So find them in these remote environments and try things out with them, right? Or ask to be a fly on the wall in their virtual classroom setting, so that you can see what they're doing. So find them, get them to try things, and let it ripple effect in a virtual environment in the same way that we would try to do that in a face-to-face environment with them. It's always really nice. I find in my experience working with teachers, when I can, we talked about this a little bit last session, when you can bring them an example, especially a student example of the work to a teacher, it goes a long way in getting them to want to try it. I find that that is amplified even more when it is a student example or a teacher example from their own district or their own school building, right? So if I know that so-and-so down the hall who faces the same challenges I face, who has the same demographics of students that I have, and who has all of the same challenges and benefits and access or lack of access that I have, if they're able to do it, then I'm going to be able to do it most likely. So the more you can get someone in the same school environment setting, an example, and get them doing that, and then help share the word. I saw some people sharing great examples in the chat of highlighting teachers and newsletters and different things, and of what they're doing with their students, the better. So lots of ways that we can help spread that word in a virtual environment. On another note, if you were, we talked about kind of popping in classrooms a little bit, and this idea of pushing in classrooms. Our coaches really make an effort to, when teachers are on their plan bell, we go to that teacher on their plan bell, right? Maybe it's just to say, hi, how are you, and build relationships. Other times it might be to bring an idea to them that you saw and you thought of them because you thought they might like it. But if we can't actually walk down the hallway and actually go into their classroom, how do we do that? So some of our coaches have worked with their building administrative team, and they have a Google Doc link where all of the Hangout links are posted, or the virtual meeting links are posted by grade level for each teacher. Here's an example that you can see, so that for each day that there's a virtual meeting, whether you are actually in school from, your normal start until end time, or maybe you have some sort of a block schedule now, but whatever it may be, if you can have access to those teacher links in some way, in some sort of organized location, or if you have access to their Google Classroom, which you can quickly join their virtual meetings, whatever it might be, if you can actually have access to those, it makes it easy to actually pop in and just kind of be, again, that extra set of hands while they're teaching that lesson. If you're going to do something like this, be sure that teachers know to expect you, though, right? We don't, if you don't have that culture, a lot of coaches might have that culture where you're walking in and out of their classrooms all the time. Other places don't have that culture. And when you come in a classroom, teachers can get a little bit nervous because they feel like they're going to be evaluated in some way. So be sure that if you're going to do something like that, teachers know to expect you and know that you're just there to kind of understand the realities of a virtual classroom right now, so you can better, develop training and support the teachers, or, you just want to be an extra set of hands, whatever it might be. Additionally, don't forget about everyone that needs training in this remote or hybrid environment right now, right? I'm sure a lot of schools are dedicating time and support to parents at home so that they can better support their students. You may want to think as a coach, especially as an aspiring coach, how you might be able to develop some cheat sheets or FAQs or screencasts to help support all of these other stakeholders that are also transitioning, right? It's not just our teachers, but in order for them to be effective, we've got all of these other groups, students, parents, admin, secretary, all of these other people, classified staff. Don't forget that your paraprofessionals are trying to support your students too, or your school psychologists, or your occupational therapists, or whatever it might be. They all need help right now too. So anything you can do to help support all of those groups are ultimately going to help your teachers in this environment. And then, of course, office hours with a purpose. So Tracy mentioned office hours. Our coaches have had a lot of luck beyond just additional, hey, I'll be here from 9 to 10 a.m. every day if you just want to hop on our Google Meet. But if some of those times you actually give them a purpose. So, hey, every Wednesday, bring a practice lesson to the office hour. If you want me to be the guinea pig or the student so you can practice whatever tool it is that you're trying to use, I'll be here to be the student version for you, or whatever that purpose is that you want to put on it. We have found that in times where people aren't attending the just general office hours, the attendance goes up pretty dramatically when you give a purpose to those office hours, such as bring a particular lesson. And then we also had a lot of luck with running little mini professional development sessions, whether it was on a daily or a weekly basis or a monthly basis. We've called them different things like Power PDs, Appy Hours, Lunch and Learns, Breakfast Bites, but having some kind of regular help, especially now, everything that you do being with the eyes of distance learning or hybrid teaching in some way. And don't focus on the tool, I think would be our advice. But really maybe focusing on the topics that your teachers are concerned with, right? So right now they're concerned with, how do I assess students from home to prevent them from just Googling the answer? So you might lead some Power PDs on how to assess students from home and take the Google out of your assessments, or different things like that. And teachers are very concerned with those topics right now. If you keep them short and sweet, they will come. And then, of course, offer to moderate a chat or be an extra set of hands in their session. You may have found by leading virtual PD, if you were doing it alone, trying to teach your teachers and moderate the chat to answer questions was really hard. Same thing for your teachers. If they're teaching asynchronous lessons and video meetings, trying to do that and moderate the chat for students could be hard. If they're very timid, especially with using technology or teaching in this environment, you may want to say, hey, you know what? Why don't I just hop in your next virtual class that you're leading, and I'll just monitor the chat, or I'll just help be there to be an extra set of hands to launch different tools that you might use. That can go a long way to building their confidence and ultimately lead to them, wanting to do a formal coaching cycle or wanting to do more work with you. And then also, of course, offering to co-teach a remote lesson in the same way that we would do that in a face-to-face environment to help build and establish that confidence. Teachers now more than ever can use that as a resource. And finally, on this topic, for those folks who are joining us with the aspirations of becoming a tech coach, who may not be a tech coach just yet, some ideas for you as far as pushing in and being visible is to present at school or district PDs. If you, obviously wouldn't be stepping on toes if there's already coaches in the district. You might partner with them if you already have coaches at your school, but offering to lead different PD sessions, some of those little ideas that we just talked about. Helping admin. Remember, we mentioned that in our building relationships. To build those relationships with admin, you've got to make their lives easier. So whatever you can do to make your admin's life easier right now, it will go a long way. They're juggling a lot of plates too in this remote environment. Offering to be an extra set of hands to your teachers when your schedule allows. Hanging a sign with your contact info in faculty rooms. Again, if there's not already a coach in your building, and you're trying to develop the skills to ultimately become a coach, you can hang your contact info. Hey, I'm happy to help. Here's my plan bell, or get a hold of me after the school day. Hang that stuff in faculty rooms. You can also hang a sign outside of your classroom signaling that you're willing to help teachers. The pineapple's on here because the pineapple is a symbol of welcome and hospitality, and I don't want to go into it for the sake of time, but that idea of the pineapple chart stems from that. And then, of course, inviting teachers into your classroom while you're teaching your virtual classroom, or into your physical classroom if you're teaching in a hybrid environment, so that they can observe, ask them for feedback, right? It'll just generate discussion. And really quickly, before we dive into our last section here, I want to go ahead and let me launch the poll so that Tracy can finish us out here over the next few minutes, talking about formal coaching cycles, really diving into that 5-step coaching model in the curriculum, and how we might transition that to a virtual environment. So if you wouldn't mind going ahead and answering the poll, letting us know, and this is how you can get to it. If you move your cursor in your Google Meet, you should see a little puzzle piece in the top right. If you click that puzzle piece, you can then click on polls, and then you should be able to answer our poll that we have for you. Be sure to hit vote. So we'll give you just a couple of maybe 30 more seconds here to go ahead and answer that. We're just looking for if you have conducted formal coaching cycles, whether it was the 5-step model or something similar. If you have not, but you are familiar with that 5-step model, formal coaching cycle model, or no, you have not, and you are not familiar with it at all. If you do not see the poll or you can't find it, just throw it in the chat. Yes, I've conducted formal coaching cycles. No, I haven't, but I understand the concept, or no, I haven't, and I don't know what they are. And of course, the entire Google coaching curriculum is going to really set you up so that you do know what that 5-step model is and how to implement each step of the way. We just wanted to kind of get a lay of the land before we start talking about formal coaching cycles, if people, where you're at in that coaching curriculum, if you understand it. So Tracy, it's looking like most people either have, about 2/3 of folks either have done them, or they understand what the concept is. So maybe just kind of briefly covering that on the next step.
Perfect. All right. So like Katie said, the coaching program through Google will cover this in detail and really walk you through all of these steps. The 5-step coaching model really covers this formal coaching cycle, identifying and understanding the challenges with the teachers, and then investigating those possible strategies and selecting a personalized strategy for those teachers to work through. So the blue and the red pieces kind of go together, and then how to implement and make improvements on that strategy as you're working through that with your teacher, and then reflecting on the outcomes. So always having that reflection outcome at the end so that your teachers and you can look back and say, okay, what went well? Where can we improve? What's going to be our next step with moving forward with our goals and understanding how this is working through. So again, the curriculum goes into a lot more depth on how to work through these formal coaching cycles, and we'll really walk you through all of those pieces. For the sake of time, we're going to jump into the next piece and walk through how we've utilized formal coaching cycles within our program, and myself as a coach with my team of the other coaches that I work with. One of the things that we've noticed is you can implement coaching cycles in a couple different ways. So having an 8-week coaching cycle is great if you have the time and your teachers have the time and momentum to continue to work through that, or conducting a 4-week coaching cycle where we're really using the first week to meet in depth, identifying, investigating, selecting those topics. And then the second and third week are really implementation of the strategy. And the fourth week is the reflection week. So it's a quick topic. It's a simplified use of their time. So this may be something where it's not as deep of a goal that your teachers are setting with you. The 8-week coaching cycle would be a little bit longer, where the implementation process stretches out because we want some depth and understanding to those pieces. So that really changes the way that you look. And when you're doing it virtually, again, you can do those same pieces where you shorten those cycles so that you're getting some quick responses and understanding what their needs are, or lengthening those pieces out. Some great things to do are recruiting cohorts and teams as a coach as well. So it makes it very easy if you can work with grade levels or content areas or teaching teams when you're conducting your formal coaching cycles. Because if you can work with a team, whether you're on-site or virtual, having those meetings together with the team, getting to know what is their grade level goal, how can we meet those, how can we best support students for that grade level, and that grade level then holds each other accountable. Because if I'm doing it and our students are rotating, if my students come to me and they are doing what we all agreed upon, and then they go to Katie's classroom or they go to Andrea's classroom, and suddenly maybe they're doing great in Andrea's classroom, and then they come back to mine and I've slipped and I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, those students are going to call me out, and then they're going to go back to Andrea and be like, Miss Phillips, Mrs. Keogh's not doing this, and you said we should be doing it over there, and they're gonna call us out on it, and peer pressure is going to build for teachers. So those are a great thing for accountability. We really want to see our teachers hold accountability, not only from us as coaches helping build them up and see their successes, but once our students get familiar with all the tools, they're going to want to hold that accountability as well. And when you have teacher teams working together, it's nice because you have someone that's going through the process with you and can understand the struggles as well. So always recruit, if possible, grade level teams, content areas, so all of science or all of social studies, ELA, language arts teachers, math teachers, to help them collaborate together on a goal. Again, always going back to this with formal coaching cycles, always can be that extra set of hands, whether it's face-to-face in a brick and mortar building or a virtual piece. How can we be that extra set of hands? Whether it's supporting them, I'll just monitor the chat room, I'm on here to help you go through your lesson, or I'm here to, hey, Rebecca, we're on a team together. Can I sit in on your classroom because I want to see how it works in yours? Because then I'm going to go support, Andreas, to make sure everybody's understanding the same topics and that we're all doing this together. So as a coach, you're really able to bring that team together and support them and be that extra set of hands with the coaching cycle and formal coaching pieces. Remember, there will be focus problem-based coaching spaces when you're looking at the remote hybrid challenges. So we are going to see, how do I assess students from home? How do I engage them in online instruction? You feel like, as a coach, and your teachers feel like they're being pulled in a million different directions with all of these pieces. Organizing their instruction, differentiating online, all of those things are going to come to the forefront. So helping your teachers focus and pull down on at least one of those at a time, because we know we can't solve all of those problems all at one time. We need to help them find the one that's really bothering them most and then build upon that, because typically one will help solve others once they feel like they've accomplished something and they feel better about it. So those are some things that we can look at and really focus their problem-based coaching into those pieces. These are some other ways you can support your teachers when you're looking at data collection. So sending out a Google form for their remote learning needs. So we're finding out, like, what do you need right now? How is this going? How can I support you? How are you feeling about it? Are you feeling successful? And really collecting that data to have for conversations later with them to really help them. Those are great things to also help teachers build portfolios of, like, this is where I was at the beginning of the year, this is where I am now based on the information that I've provided for my coach. The other piece on here is showing a deep dive visit. So I called these visits when I was doing them with my teachers. They were virtual, and I gave them multiple options on how they could reach out and I could jump into their classroom. So whether it was a virtual meeting that I sat in while they were working with students, whether it was a one-to-one Google Meet with them where they could walk me through their lesson so that I understood what they were going to be doing. They had the option to record themselves and send me the recording, and then we would have a conversation on the side so that they didn't feel like I was intruding on their classroom space, but that it was open just to them, and then we would have a side conversation. So really making them feel comfortable, but giving them those options and narrowing it down so that you knew we were going to meet those goals, how are we going to meet those goals, and making it the best for them. So really collecting that data to support your teachers in different ways. And again, like we've said the whole time, especially with formal coaching cycles, we do want to make sure we're working within the learning management system that our teachers are using to relay that information to them. So we want to make sure we're building out topics and units that are easy for our teachers to navigate. We want to model how to build into our LMS or our learning management system that our teachers are then turning around and using with our students, so that they have the feeling of understanding what their students might be going through. This really builds that in, and you or the coach are modeling those tech tools for your teachers as well, of like, here's how it's going to look for them. So now we can have a conversation, you can turn around and utilize those pieces. and really building out topics that are going to help them in folders and organization, again, to model that skill in a program that the expectation is they will be using. And then one of my favorite things is always having our teachers reflect after coaching. So we always want them to come full circle, reflect back on what went well, what they feel like they still need to work on, how you supported them, because as a coach, we like to continue to grow as well, and not be stagnant. So this is something that you could use and put together just 4 quick ways that they can show that they had some coaching cycle outcomes. So this is one that I use with a district of mine. They have 4 choices. So again, self-selection, self-choice, writing a blog post, sharing with a team, doing a Shark Tank pitch to another team, or presenting at a conference. So really giving them the different levels of sharing out after coaching and reflecting on what they've learned and grown, and really showing them that they have grown. Because a lot of what we see in the reflection process is teachers don't realize how much they've grown until they've sat down and taken the time to reflect on it. Because when you're in the middle of all of it, you're not seeing that growth. You're not seeing and understanding that you are really doing excellent and amazing things. So we do want to encourage them to share out and find ways to get other people to learn around them. And this is just one way to give them simple outcomes that they can then share out and do. And that is the end of what we have for you guys.
Thank you so much, Tracy. Everybody, thanks so much for coming. If you have questions, Tracy and I are going to stick around for a little bit longer so we can answer those. You can always reach out to us on Twitter. Again, use that Google hashtag, Google EC and FEK12. And we will answer those questions. And again, for those folks asking some questions about the coaching curriculum, to get started and become a Google certified coach, you want to complete the coach curriculum. You want to put that 5-step model and these coaching skills into practice so you can collect your artifacts. And then, of course, apply to become a certified coach. And of course, we just want to mention that we do offer, again, this is optional, but we do offer optional paid mentorship options. If you're interested in checking those out, especially for those aspiring coaches or maybe brand new coaches, you can check those out on our webpage at forward-edge.net/Google-certified-coach. So thank you so much. We hope that today was really helpful for you, and we are very much looking forward to next Tuesday, same time, to talk about how you can align your coaching goals with district or school level goals and help drive those goals forward through your coaching work. So thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your week.
Gracias, saludos desde Ecuador para todos. Excelente charla.
Gracias, Henry.